Hello students. In continuation with the previous session, that is romantic prose writers, let us understand the life and works of Thomas de Quincey. Thomas de Quincey, a famous writer of impassioned prose, he shared the reaction of his day against the severer classicism of 18th century. He preferred rather ornate manner of Jeremy Taylor, Sir Thomas Browne and their contemporaries. The speciality of his style consists in describing incidents of purely personal interest in language suited to their magnitude as they appear in the eyes of the writer. He is known for his writing like Confessions of an English Opium Eater. De Quincey was born on 15th August 1785, Manchester, Lancashire, in England, and he died on 8th December 1859, Edinburgh, Scotland. He is a major English essayist and critic. As a child, De Quincey was alienated from his solid, prosperous, mercantile family by his sensitivity and precocity. At the age of 17, he ran away to Wales and then lived incognito in London. Around this time in 1799, De Quincey first read lyrical ballads by Wordsworth and Coleridge, and at the age of 15, he was ready for the University of Oxford. His scholarship was far in advance of his years. That boy could, his master at Bath had said. He was sent to Manchester Grammar School in order that after 3 years' stay he might obtain a scholarship to Brasenose College, Oxford, but he took flight after 19 months. His first plan had been to reach Wordsworth, whose lyrical ballads had consoled him in fits of depression. But for that De Quincey was too timid, so he made his way to Chester, where his mother dwelt, in the hope of seeing a sister. He was caught by the old members of family, but through the efforts of his uncle, received the promise of a guinea a week to carry out his later project of a solitary tramp through Wales. He lived as a wayfarer. He soon lost his guinea by ceasing to keep his family informed of his whereabouts and had difficulty making ends meet. Finally, discovered by chance his friends, he was brought home and finally allowed to go to Worcester College, Oxford, on a reduced income. He came to be looked upon as a strange being who associated with no one. In 1804, while at Oxford, he began the occasional use of opium. While at college in 1804, he took his first opium to relieve the pain of facial neuralgia. In 1813, he had become regular and confirmed opium eater, keeping a decanter of laudanum by his elbow and steadily increasing the dose. He remained an addict for the rest of his life. De Quincey was an early admirer of lyrical ballads. He rented Wordsworth's former home, Doe Cottage, at Grasmere, on and off from 1809 to 1833. In 1817, he married Margaret Simpson, who had already borne him a son. His financial position as a head of a large family went from bad to worse until the appearance of Confessions in London magazine, which made him famous. It was reprinted as a book in 1822. Quincey was a highly intellectual writer and his interests were very wide. Mostly he wrote in the form of articles for journals and he dwelt with all sorts of subjects about himself and his friends, life in general, art, literature, philosophy, and religion. Of his autobiographical sketches, the best known is his Confessions of an English Opium Eater, which has given him, in a most interesting manner, glimpses of his own life under the influence of opium. He also wrote fine biographies of a number of classical, historical, and literary persons, of which most ambitious attempt is The Scissors. His most perfect historical essay is on Joan of Arc. His essay on Principle of Literature are original and penetrating. The best of this type is the one where he gives the distinction between literature of knowledge and literature of power. On the knocking at the gate in Macbeth is most brilliant one. He also wrote very scholarly articles on Goethe, Pope, Schiller, and Shakespeare. Beside this, he wrote a number of essays on science and theology also. In all his writing, he asserts his personal point of view, and as he is a man of strong prejudice, likes and dislikes, he often gives undue emphasis on certain points. The result is that we cannot rely on his judgment entirely, but there is no doubt that his approach is always original and brilliant, which straightway captures the attention of the reader. Moreover, the splendor of his poetic prose, which is elaborate and sonorous in its effects, casts its own special spell. The result is that De Quincey is still one of the most fascinating prose writers of England. His immediate influence extended to Edgar Allan Poe, Fitzhugh Ludlow, and Charles Baudelaire. But even major 20th century writers admired and claimed to be partly influenced by his work. The Confessions of an English Opium Eater draws on the theme of internal struggle with one's self, which is regarded as his important prose work. Thus, Thomas De Quincey is a very famous poet, a famous prose writer of Romantic age whose writing is passionate and personal. So, with this, I'll end the lecture. Thank you.